Welcome to PGBlitz.com. So I'm admin 9705 and I just want to welcome you to the installation video version 10. So again, if you watched all the previous ones, you know that there's many updates that have been done. So right now we're on RC1 version 8.6 and the end state is to end up with something looking like this. Now it depends on what you're using, you know, terminal, virtual machine, dedicated server. At the end of the day, you're able to get to this menu and things execute. So we're going to go through this by a step-by-step process. So I'm going to go ahead, baseline this machine, and then bring you back on the installation. So welcome back from that quick break. So unlike the previous install videos, just for a quick minute, I'd just probably like to explain a few things so that you're not going on into the deep end. So first, make sure that you actually read the instructions and pay attention to things. The reason I stress this is that we try to make things as simple and automated as we can for you. But there are some basic things that you have to do and that you have to pay attention to. So when you look at the install page to your right, over here, ta-da, right? It basically says that this is for Ubuntu and Debian. We've had people that would install it on alternate versions of Linux, you know, like Linux Mint or Fedora, some other crazy stuff. So it kind of told you that they just kind of took the code and just kind of ran with it. So the thing is, we don't want to waste your time and we don't want you to waste our time. When you look at this, we highly recommend that you do follow what versions are used and what is not used. So if you're doing something on the deep end, just understand that's all on you. If you have questions, please feel free to bring it up on the forum, but please mention what you're using. Next, when you look at the system specs here to install this script, these are just that the script can install on anything. I mean, you can have half a gig and you can have like 10 gigs of space. It will install, but the recommendations that are listed before you are kind of like for real-time operations. So we recommend that you look at that. And then we also do have some links that I will put here later on that will kind of talk about servers, and it really depends on what you're doing. So if you're just looking to install Plex, or maybe you just want to run Docker containers, maybe you don't want to use Google Drive. There's all kinds of variations you can do this, so servers can be configured all kinds of ways. Second, root. So we stress this a lot. Right now you can see in my virtual machine that I'm set up as root. You could run Plex Guide as root, but just understand that any modifications that you make as root will cause problems. So if you have a minute and you're on the install page, please feel free to check this video out. Please, I would recommend it. We also do have instructions on how to set up a user for 1000. So please check this out and please check out the wiki. So right here, here's some update stuff. And we recommend that you update your box. Ubuntu 16 and 18 have no problems. If you have a new box and you're able to run 18, we would highly recommend that. This right here, if you pretty much like run like Hetzner Cloud or some other things that are pretty much up to date, or if you have the newest ISO downloaded, you can just run sudo app update y. But if you're like several versions behind, for example, like Ubuntu at this time of this recording, Ubuntu 18.04 is out. So 0.2, and so if you have like 0.1, if you run this will do the distribution upgrade. So this, when you run this kind of update right here, it can take about 10 minutes. This one right here can take roughly about maybe about 1 minute maybe. So I'm gonna go ahead. Box is already up to date. This is a virtual machine that I'm installing this on. So again, you can install this on a remote machine, dedicated machine, whatever to your heart's content. So I'm gonna go ahead and paste the code in, and then it's gonna kind of go from there. So right now what's happening is it's pretty much doing a simple install to get the script downloaded, replicate itself, and then basically do a check to make sure that the command, the Plex Guide, PGBlitz command are set up in place. Be aware that there's 3 commands you can use, and I think I didn't put the third one. You can type PGBlitz, or Plex Guide to start it when it's complete. So on purpose, we have Ansible, and we have several things installing so that if it doesn't work, it will fail at the end. So actually by doing this has alleviated a lot of the pressure and the problems that people have been having, right? So people install, because before you installed the script, and then if you did that, there was like an error towards the end, it pissed you off because it would waste 20 minutes of your time. Whereas right now, we're basically able to tell what's going on. So you can tell the downloads are a little slow because I'm in a hotel room So yeah, it will take a hot minute. So I'm gonna go ahead and pause this when it speeds up. Okay, it looks like everything's basically unpacking and installing, so it should almost be done. I hope you're having an outstanding day. So this has been a very fun project. You'll come to learn to love it, and the reason is because it's all developed from when originally Plex pulled their servers. You know, the frustration with the stuff never working. Man, it's been a while. What was it? Plex Cloud? Yeah, that's what it was. It was Plex Cloud. So there was no good solution to get everything installed and set up. So Plex Guide, or now PGBlitz, was originally built in 2016, and it was based off a simple script that was in Google Drive. And there's several people that say, hey, we can, you know, script this out. So we did that, and this is what we ended up with today. So you can tell it's a little bit of an obsession, right? Healthy, unhealthy, right? Okay, so it looks like right now Ansible is installing. So when you see that, that's what you see as Ansible. So right now it's cloning and replicated. So if we see a success at the end, we're good, and we did. And that's pretty much it for that piece. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and type the command in PGBlitz, Plex Guide, or PG to start the next process. All right, so we're going to go ahead and type PGBlitz and make sure that this works. And it looks like we're golden. So what you're encountering right here is an update interface menu. So if you want to see the different versions of PGBlitz, just type this in your browser and you'll be able to see what versions you can pick from. Because PGBlitz is modular, meaning that it's fragmented in pieces, which is a good thing. The updates have been slower, which is good. If there's an emergency patch or fix, the modules will basically update when you run it. So you'll see it in the long run. So right now, 8.6 RC1 is the latest release candidate. So it's about to be officially out soon, probably in about a week. It'll be finalized. The latest right now is 8.58, which has been insanely stable for a lot of people. So we're gonna go ahead and type. So you gotta type the exact version that you see here. And the feature will probably have some kind of option selection thing. And that's all you have to do. If you mess it up, it will just recycle the menu. So you won't have no issues there. And the good thing is that in order to update, all you have to do is type PG update, and what it will do is it'll bring that same menu up. You can upgrade or downgrade. So it's just recommended that you know, if there's like if you're like, let's say on 8.2 and you go up to 8.6, it's kind of good if you check over to change log, or you know, check on the forum or Discord just to make sure that there's no extensive differences. As of right now, with 8.5 and up, probably go through like 8.8 or 8.9 depending on what we're doing. It just should have no issues upgrading, downgrading back and forth. So we've basically stabilized a lot of it. So right now, what it's going to do is it's going to go ahead and install a bunch of packages. So you can see right here, it's going one by one, and Ansible is great, what you're looking at right now, because the problem I had was when I started it in bash scripts, and again, this depends on the experience level, which probably many of you exceed mine, is that you know that when you install packages, they tend to just have all kinds of problems because there's different versionings, and then there can be a 32 and a 64, and you run into dependency hell. So Ansible has managed to make this process a lot more simple. And if you see something big in red and Ansible's yelling at you, that's a good thing, because it means something is probably non-standard on your box, or you're using a beta and, you know, obviously you're coming across a glitch. Originally, if you look at some of the stuff around on PGBlitz or Plex Guide, you'll see some blue menus sometimes. And the reason for that is because at first it looked great, but the problem is that wasn't there errors or there were issues, a lot of those blue menus pretty much like hide everything. So basically, you notice the way Ansible's running that right now. What we kind of did was we kind of went at a two-prong approach. So when you run Plex Guide and you go through all its interfaces, it kind of runs like how Ansible is. It's kind of like stacking the menus downward, and it kind of maintains how the original menus ran. So, and honestly, I'm kind of glad the blue menus are somewhat gone, because there are some people that have like some boxes, and depending on how things are set up, it just didn't appear correctly, and it'd drive people nuts. Okay, so right now it's setting up everything for Python, so that process is pretty much going to be fast. Let's see what else we got here. So right now, I think it's, yep, installing Docker. So if you had Docker running before, it'll skip over it. If you're running the version we have, it stopped all the Docker containers for any reason if you have any containers running. So right now it's installing Docker CE. One thing I will tell you to be careful of is that for any reason you're running PGBlitz and you just decide to get rid of Docker or uninstall whatever you do, if you see anything called a Docker PY error, that's not good. So what happens is it pretty much uninstalled properly and then reinstalled improperly. And pretty much when you get that, yeah, it's a bad day. So make sure that when you're removing Docker, make sure you flush it out completely, because when you reinstall it, it's going to cause a long series of problems. Just to help you understand what Docker is a little bit, basically they're like programs that run in their own little virtual machines. So you see right here that I'm running a virtual machine for this one program. Okay, cool, right? You know, Plex God's a little complicated, so you kind of have to. But some of us have had to run programs just on a virtual machine just for that one program, and that takes a lot of resources. So when you run a Docker program, it puts it into a container, and that container runs in its own island. So basically you're creating a bunch of mini virtual machines, and the virtual machines barely tax the computer. They basically run on their own. So if you get rid of Plex, it doesn't break your entire system. Okay, so what it's doing right now, it's cloning a bunch of things in place so that when you run things, it's not broken. Setting up permissions. We also have a thing called the PGUI interface, and I'm going to continue to improve this over time. Obviously, you can tell I build websites here, and with that process, I'm like, hey, wait, you know, can't we show like some of the things that are going on in a simple interface? And yeah, you can. So you can use your domain. You can use port 85555 to access it, or type pgui.yourdomain.com and get direct access to what you want to look at. So the PGUI will have some transfer logs. It will let you know what things are installed. It will let you know if there's some errors, and it's been quite helpful, to be honest. We used to have a different Plex God PG interface prior, because it just did all the transfers that one of our members set up, but he moved on to bigger and better things, and so we had to improvise and actually came up with a system that provides a little bit more sanity and checks. Okay, so right now the Google SDK is installing, and I'm sorry if I'm boring you to death with all this stuff, but again, I would prefer for you to understand what's going on so you have an idea. So what the Google SDK is it's basically the kit that allows you to interface with Google, a series of commands, if you want to think about it that way. And when we execute these commands, it serves a two-pronged purpose. One, it helps us mount drives. So if you want to mount your Google Drive, running these commands allow us to interact with Google to get to basically get their permission to install the stuff. And then second, there's people who use a thing called Google GC Feeder Edition. You're going to love it when we have, you know, what we have. And what it does is basically deploys virtual machines from Google's $300 credit thing you can get. We'll talk more about that later. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and type a server name. Make sure you keep it simple, all lowercase, no spaces, because if you don't, yeah, it's just a bad day. And really, all the server name helps you out with is when you're loading up PGBlitz, it just helps you identify what you're on. And when you do a backup and restore, that's you're going to backup and restore from the server that you identify from. Okay, so right here is Watchtower. What this does is basically it auto updates your containers, and I tell people that it's kind of your choice. You can say I never want my containers to update, which is kind of bad because if they don't update, basically you don't get new updates. The way you can update it is just rerunning the program, and yeah, just rerunning the program. Or you can have auto update all. The reason I left Plex and Emby as accept is because there was a time where Plex pushed out an update and it pretty much botched everybody's servers where all the metadata stopped working correctly, and it wasn't fully their fault, but they didn't have a backup plan. So when everything auto updated, people's Plex servers got broken. So if your Plex is pretty consistent and stable, right, what's the point of like having to always update automatically if you need to? Okay, so in this demo, I'm just going to go ahead and do 2. And again, Watchtower is a very useful program because many of us are like, wait, they're all running in Docker containers virtual machines, so how do they update? And that's what it is. Okay, so 95% of you are pretty much going to leave this alone and say no. Because if you only have one disk, this is not going to do you any good. So if you only have one disk, what this does is, like, if you have a second disk, let's say you have Hetzner and you got 2 disks, right? And the second disk is fully available. This is like setting up everything to process on your D drive, you know, like with Windows. So what happens is if you have 2 disks and everything's unpacking, processing on that first disk, and people are watching Plex and it's transcoding off that first disk, you're going to get a bottleneck. So basically, you have the ability to change it to a second disk. So do you want to change to a second disk? So in this demo, we're going to do no. Just understand that you're basically going to be responsible for formatting that disk and mounting it. And trust me, it does not sound as easy as it sounds. Because, you know, like in Windows, you know, you just go to disk, right click and format, and you call it a day. But it's not that easy. Okay, so here's the PGUI interface that I was talking about. So we could go ahead and, you know, basically there's no domain setup right now, but you could take your IPv4 address and type 85555, and at the end of this demo, we'll show it real quick. And there you go. So you know how you saw everything in the beginning? This is how it looks now. So one thing you may see in the release, in the final, is that it will prompt you what version of transport mount you want selected. So I haven't put the auto option on this yet. If you do 8.5, it will. Okay, so just to give you a quick rundown on the menu, so you're not kind of trying to figure all this out, the best thing to do is kind of read the wiki in the order. When you go to the wiki page on the GitHub, let's see, go to the top, go to wiki. If you kind of follow the order on the right side, you're going to be pretty safe. That's the best way to go about it, right? So if you notice here, it's like, hey, you know, server planning, recommended news hosts, additions. You see there's the watchtower, because if you set up things like irregular, it may give you some heartache, like with anything, right? So kind of go through this and it'll kind of help you out. And this wiki is fully editable by anybody. So if you have some tips or you want to add some pictures, please feel free to do so, because you'll be surprised. The one thing you may know may save us a lot of time. So, you know, it's kind of hard to run all the stuff all by itself. So and I appreciate all the members always chiming in, helping us out. Okay. So what Trafic is when it says reverse proxy, sadly, I didn't understand a reverse proxy, even though I was a big computer guy. All a reverse proxy is basically the thing in between that translates everything for your subdomains. So if you type, remember how we was looking here, pguidomain.com, like whatever your domain.com is, when you type that, it's going to talk to your server. It's going to translate to your server. Trafic picks it up, and it will point to your container. So, and the cool thing about Trafic is it's gonna, if you set it up correctly, it's gonna grab the HTTPS certificate for all your containers, and it blankets them all with one certificate, which is the best part. So you're gonna get a Let's Encrypt certificate, and that's what's gonna basically provide you your subdomain. So you can type HTTPS right there like that, and then you're pretty much good to go. Every time you create new Docker containers, it's using that one certificate. So we got that all set up for you and very automated. So if I go, I'll just type one so you can see what it looks like. And again, please watch the YouTube video on this. So this will help you out. So you can see, you can set up your, what do you want at your top domain, your provider, and then deploy. And we built a lot of checks into this one, so you can't have things up. And some of you will get mad and say, well, I can't access Portainer. Trust me, if you haven't done this and you come across it, it means that you goofed up something. And again, please check the wiki in the video for that one. Port guard. So right now, all the ports are open on this, well, not all the ports, but the ports that your programs utilize are open. So what we do is we allow you to turn it off. I'm using a home virtual machine, so this doesn't matter, right? It's convenient for me because I'm not going to type a domain to get to my, to my containers inside my own house, right? But for you on the internet, this does you no good if you have your ports open, because, for example, there's a few programs that don't have default password protection. And the thing is, we have PG Shield here, which does that for you, but it can't protect you against your ports. So if I type 8555, I can get to it. And then if you're using an older program, or there's improper access, people can basically hack you. So I'm gonna go ahead and type localhost 8555. And you see how there's the PGUI interface right here? And it works just like as I thought it would. So, because right now here we have nothing going on, there's no warnings, and there's some links to help you out. See, but this is actually running in a Docker container. So just 1 second. Shouldn't have used, I got the resolution so low on this. There we go, right there. Okay. Actually, let me move that up before I screw that up. And then just kind of remove. Okay. So that's what Port Guard basically is. PG Shield will basically provide you protection. What it does is, you ever been to a website and you get the whole Google, you got to log in with that? That's what you get. And it's cool because if you deploy this and set it up correctly, and again, you got to have traffic set up correctly, it will check you. It's cool because like you can authorize like 5 users if you want to access all your containers without worry, because you authorize them specifically. Everybody else who's logged into some other Google thing, what they'll do is they'll just get it not authorized. So check out the PG Shield, check out the wiki, and check out the video for that. PG Clone, this is the transport system I'm talking about, so it'll automate in the beginning. So I'll just load that up real quick because it didn't do that for the demo. Come on, come on. Oh, it's installing rclone right now. Okay. Okay, so rclone is the transport program, so please thank the rclone community for what they do. So right here, here's the 5 different versions. I will have a video on that, and please check out the wiki on this. But long story short, you'll select basically 4 of these tied to your Google Drive, some with encryption, some without encryption, some with your Google Drive only, and some with your Team Drive only, or with a combination of your Team Drive. But at the end of the day, when you deploy all this, it's pretty cool because it merges all of them together as one drive, right? So please, again, check out the video on that. So it looks like it's forcing me to pick one, which I did set up. Okay. PG Box is where you're going to basically install all your programs. So if I go to PG Core are the apps that we specifically focus on with PGBlitz. PG Community, most of the apps work, but they usually work. But please check the wiki on some of them. They're submitted by members. We don't have time to go through all of them, but feel free to submit fixes. We've had people submit interesting applications. So if I go to Community, you'll see quite a ton of applications there. And there you go. See, so you got all those to pick from, right? An excessive amount. So if you want, let's see, what's one that, AirSonic, right? Use that. Oh, and here's the cool thing. You can stack the installs. So speed test. And then see, I type deploy. So you see that these stack. Because before in the past, you had to type the programs one by one, and yeah, it was just a pain. And you can do cron jobs, but again, that's not the purpose of this video. So right now it's installing. So I just want to kind of show you that it's working in the background. So with that, PG Box is in. While this is deploying, the next thing I'll talk about is the PG Vault. That's pretty much a backup system. So once you set up your mounts, right, with PG Clone, the G drive and everything, what happens is your containers have the ability to basically shut down. All the data is kind of zipped in a tar format, and it's sent to your Google Drive along with your server name. And the cool thing is you can run 10 different programs right now. So I can run 10 programs on this machine, back them all up, and I can restore them 2 years later on some machine in Australia. I know it's kind of an offlandish example, and it will be at the exact same state. Why? Because when the data comes back and then the containers start, they read the data that was pulled down, and it's all brought back for you. Okay, so it looks like that kicked in. So it's taking a hot minute on that. But that's going to be pretty much it. So basically the backup works. We do have a series of options and tools that you can check out. Please check out the other video, which will be more of a kind of like a walkthrough all the stuff, but just with the install process, I kind of wanted you to have the basics down, because without that, it's pretty much a bad day for you. Interesting note though, for you that get a brand new server, just offhand, this is a speed test is a good app to use, because basically it checks the connection between you and the server. So if the stats report under, it's not that your server sucks, it might be you on your end. Okay, so you see it says, hey, go to this address, and it should work. So let's go ahead and bring it up. Let's see, Firefox, and then 8223. And there you go. So because this is running on itself, it probably, yeah. Okay, so pretty much we talked about Vault. Cloud will allow you to install those Google GC instances. Please see the videos on that. You do get $300 free credit for your G Suite account. Actually, you get it for every account. So basically you can utilize Google for about 2 months, yeah, and deploy virtual machines that give you 1 gig speeds to download stuff. And I even set up Hetzner. I need to get more advanced with it, but if you just want to throw up a test dummy machine without going, you know, without talking to them on their end, you can. And then again, there's a series of tools and lovely settings to help you out. So there you go. Some things you can install. You could even use your own server as a DNS. So, well, DNS changed. Oh, no, not DNS. I'm talking about VPN. So you could talk to your server and have your home computer connect directly to it. And then settings, pretty simple. But you know, if you want to do multi HDs, right? You want to add multiple HDs, change your download path. There's Watchtower again. There's the PG UI. You may want to turn that off. And some of you may get pissed off because every time you load a Plex guide, it's gonna be like, hey, warning, right? You could turn it off there. So that's all we pretty much have. If you could please subscribe and like, please, you know, contribute to the community. If you want to donate, it helps a lot. So obviously you can tell a lot of these costs go to this: the computer, the server, the virtual machines, the Adobe licenses, everything all adds up. But this hobby is meant to help new users like yourself if you're brand new, because Plex Guide was basically, and PGBlitz was built on being a newbie philosophy. So 16 months ago, I didn't know lick a bash, and I got frustrated with all the coders on Reddit, and here we are. So other than that, you have an outstanding day.